I've been turning something over in my mind for weeks now. I was listening to this podcast, a different one, I mean, and the host said something like, success is mostly luck, and we just don't want to admit it. And honestly, it kind of threw me. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Oh, wow, that's a heavy one to start the day with. But you're right, it does stick with you, doesn't it? Because we're raised on this idea that effort equals reward. Like you put in the hours, you get the outcome. But luck, that feels almost cheating to bring up.
Exactly. It's almost taboo to say someone got lucky. It feels like you're diminishing their hard work, Like you're saying they didn't earn it.
Right, and nobody wants to be that person. I remember when I got my first big break in media, someone called me lucky, and I actually got a little defensive. I was like, I sent out 40 applications. I networked for months. But looking back now, there was definitely some luck in the timing.
See, that's exactly what I mean. We're happy to take credit for the hard work, but the lucky break, we brush past it. So let me ask you, straight up, how much of your success would you say was luck, realistically?
Oof, putting me on the spot here. I'd say maybe 30%, at least. The right person saw my resume at the right moment, the job opened up just when I was looking, I happened to be in the right city. If any of those variables had shifted slightly, I might be doing something completely different right now.
30%, that's pretty honest. And I think most people would land somewhere around there if they really reflected on it. But here's where it gets tricky. Once someone becomes successful, they tend to rewrite their story. They start believing it was all strategy and hard work.
Absolutely. There's actually a term for that. It's called the narrative fallacy. It's a concept from a thinker named Nassim Taleb. Basically, our brains don't like randomness, so we craft a neat story after the fact. We connect the dots backward and make it look inevitable. But in reality, there were 1,000 small forks in the road.
The narrative fallacy. I love that term. And it's so true, isn't it? We take a messy, chaotic journey and turn it into a clean timeline. I set a goal, I worked hard, I achieved it. But we leave out the part where we got lucky with a mentor, or we happened to be in the right room at the right time.
Or we leave out the part where we failed 3 times and only succeeded because the 4th attempt coincided with a market shift we had nothing to do with. We want the story to be heroic. I overcame obstacles through sheer will. That sells better than I was persistent, and also things kind of lined up.
So let's zoom out a bit. How do we even define luck? Because I think that's part of the problem. Luck means different things to different people. For some, it's winning the lottery. For others, it's being born into a supportive family.
That's such an important point. Luck isn't just random chance. It exists on different levels. There's what I'd call blind luck, things completely outside your control, like where you're born, your genetics, your family's financial situation. And then there's what some people call earned luck, opportunities that come from putting yourself out there.
Earned luck. I like that. So you're saying we can actually influence our luck to some degree? That's a more empowering way to look at it.
Exactly. I think the most useful framing is that luck favors action. You can't control the dice, but you can control how many times you roll them. The more you put yourself in the path of opportunity, the more likely something will click. It's not a guarantee, but it shifts the odds in your favor.
That reminds me of that phrase, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but there's real truth to it, isn't there? If you haven't prepared, even a great opportunity won't help you.
It's a cliche because it's true. I think the Roman philosopher Seneca said something similar thousands of years ago, and it's still relevant. Preparation is the part you control. You study, you practice, you build skills. And then opportunity, that's the part you don't control. But when those two things line up, people call it luck.
So essentially, we should focus on the preparation and stop obsessing over the luck part. But that's easier said than done, especially when you see people who seem to have all the luck, born into privilege, perfect timing, connections handed to them.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. It's not fair, and pretending it's fair doesn't help anyone. But here's what I've come to believe. Comparing your luck to someone else's is a trap. You don't know their full story, and you definitely don't know their unseen struggles.
That's wise. And it ties into something I wanted to bring up, survivorship bias. We only see the people who made it, right? We don't see the thousands of equally talented people who just didn't get the lucky break.
Yes, survivorship bias is huge here. We look at billionaires who dropped out of college and think, see, you don't need education, but we don't see the millions who dropped out and struggled. We look at successful entrepreneurs and think they had a genius plan, but we don't see the ones with the same plan who failed because of bad timing.
It's like standing in a casino and only looking at the person who just won the jackpot, ignoring the 100 people who've been losing all night. The winner's story is exciting, but it's not the full picture.
That's a perfect analogy. And it's dangerous because survivorship bias shapes how we view success. It makes us overestimate the role of individual effort and underestimate the role of chance. And then we design our whole lives around these distorted examples.
Okay, so let me ask you something personal again. Have you ever had a moment where you clearly saw luck at work in your life? Like a moment where you thought, if that hadn't happened, everything would be different?
Oh, absolutely. One specific moment comes to mind. About 8 years ago, I was at a conference, and I almost didn't go. I was tired, it was raining, I wanted to stay in my hotel room, but I forced myself to go, and I ended up sitting next to someone at lunch who later became my biggest professional mentor.
Wow, so you almost missed that connection entirely. And that's the thing. We never know which ordinary moment will turn out to be life-changing.
Exactly, and I can't take full credit for that. Sure, I showed up, but I didn't know who I'd sit next to. I didn't plan it. It was chance. Chance that I ended up at that table. Chance that we hit it off. Chance that they had a project they needed help with. I created the conditions, but I didn't create the opportunity.
That's such a good example of what you called earned luck earlier. You put yourself in the game, and then chance did the rest. And I think that's the healthiest way to think about it. You're not a passive victim of fate, but you're also not the sole architect of your destiny.
Right. It's a middle ground. And I think mature success, real grounded success, comes from understanding that balance. You work hard, you stay open, you build genuine relationships, and then you let go of the outcome a little, because so much of it is out of your hands.
That letting go part is hard, though, especially for high achievers who are used to controlling everything. How do you actually practice that mindset without becoming passive?
It's a constant battle, honestly. I still struggle with it. But one thing that helps is reframing failure. Instead of thinking, I failed because I'm not good enough, I try to think, the conditions weren't right this time. That doesn't mean I don't improve, it just means I acknowledge that some factors were beyond me.
So you're saying failure isn't always a reflection of your worth or your effort. Sometimes the timing is off, the market isn't ready, or you just didn't catch the right wave. And that's okay.
Exactly. And that's actually freeing if you think about it. Because if you believe that everything is in your control, then every failure is a personal indictment. That's exhausting. But if you accept that luck plays a role, you can fail, learn, and try again without hating yourself.
That's such a healthy reframe. And I think this is where the research really backs it up. There have been studies on luck, actual academic studies. Did you know about the work of Richard Wiseman? He's a psychologist who studied luck for years.
Oh, I've heard of him. He wrote a book called The Luck Factor, right? He found that lucky people aren't necessarily born lucky. They exhibit certain behaviors that create more opportunities.
Yes, that's the one. His research showed that people who consider themselves lucky tend to be more open, more sociable, and more relaxed. They notice opportunities because they're not too focused or anxious. They also bounce back faster from bad luck.
Fascinating. So luck in his framework is partly a personality trait, or at least a set of habits. That's empowering. It means we can cultivate luck by being more present, more curious, and more resilient when things don't go our way.
Right. And one of my favorite findings from his work is that unlucky people tend to rigidly stick to routines, while lucky people vary their patterns. They take different routes to work, talk to strangers, try new things. They create more surface area for luck to land on.
Surface area for luck. I love that phrase. I'm going to steal that. It's like casting a wider net. The more experiences you have, the more people you meet, the more chances there are for something unexpected and positive to happen.
Exactly. And I think that's the practical takeaway here. Instead of obsessing over whether we're lucky or not, we can focus on increasing our surface area. Say yes to more things, be curious, talk to the person next to you on the train.
On the train, we're really going back to in-person interaction, huh? But you're right, and I think the digital world has actually made this harder. We stay in our bubbles, talking to the same people, consuming algorithm-curated content. We've shrunk our surface area without realizing it.
That's such a good point. Algorithms show us more of what we already like. They comfort us, but they also narrow us. And narrowness is the enemy of luck. Luck thrives in variety, in randomness, in the unexpected.
So in a way, to get lucky, we need to fight against our natural comfort zones. We need to deliberately introduce randomness into our lives. Go somewhere new, read something outside your field, have a conversation with someone who disagrees with you.
And on that note, I think we also need to talk about privilege, because we can't have an honest conversation about luck without acknowledging it. Some people are born with a massive head start.
Absolutely. And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Being born in a stable country, into a financially secure family with access to education, that's luck of the highest order. And yet people who have that privilege often don't see it as luck. They see it as normal.
Right. It's the fish not knowing it's in water. When you've always had certain advantages, you don't notice them. You think everyone starts from the same place. And then you judge others who haven't made it, as if they simply didn't try hard enough.
That's the hidden danger of ignoring luck. It makes us cruel. It makes us judgmental. It makes us think the successful are morally superior and the struggling are lazy. And that's just not how the world works. Acknowledging luck is the first step toward humility.
Humility, that's a beautiful word to bring into this, because I think that's what a healthy relationship with luck gives us. It keeps us grounded when we succeed and compassionate when others struggle. It reminds us that we didn't do it all alone.
Exactly. And it also helps us be more generous. If you recognize that luck played a role in your success, you're more likely to pay it forward. You mentor someone, you open doors, you create opportunities for others. You become part of their lucky break.
That's the ripple effect, isn't it? Someone was lucky enough to help you, so you help someone else, and the chain continues. And in that way, luck becomes something we can actively distribute. We can be someone else's good fortune.
I love that. We can be someone else's good fortune. That should be on a poster somewhere. But seriously, that's the most actionable thing we've said today. You want more luck in the world? Start by being lucky for someone else.
Okay, so let's pivot a little. I want to talk about the downsides, because there's a shadow side to this luck conversation. Some people use luck as an excuse. They say, well, I'm just unlucky, and they give up. They use it as a reason to not even try.
That's a real risk, and we have to guard against that. Acknowledging luck isn't the same as surrendering to fate. It's about balance, not passivity. The goal is to work hard and stay open to luck, not to use luck as a reason to stop working.
It's a fine line, isn't it? On one side, you have the everything is merit camp that ignores privilege and luck. On the other side, you have the nothing matters, it's all luck camp that leads to inaction. The truth is somewhere in the messy middle.
The messy middle. That's where all the interesting stuff lives, isn't it? And I think that's where maturity comes in. Can you hold two ideas at once? Can you work your hardest while knowing that hard work alone doesn't guarantee anything? That's the challenge.
I think that's what separates a healthy mindset from an unhealthy one. The healthy mindset says, I'll do my best and I'll accept that the outcome isn't fully in my control. The unhealthy mindset says either I must control everything or there's no point in trying.
Nailed it. And this is actually very similar to what Stoic philosophers taught. They said, focus on what you can control, your efforts, your character, your responses, and accept what you can't control. That's wisdom that's thousands of years old, and it's still the best advice.
The Stoics really did think of everything, didn't they? But it's true. And I think modern psychology backs this up too. The concept of an internal locus of control, Believing you have agency is linked to better mental health, but that doesn't mean denying external factors exist.
Right. It's not about pretending the world is fair. It's about saying, even in an unfair world, I can still take meaningful action. That's not naive optimism. That's resilience. And resilience is something we could all build, regardless of our starting point in the luck lottery.
The luck lottery, I like that phrase, because it acknowledges that the starting point is random, but it also implies that the game isn't over once the lottery is drawn. The game keeps going, and we keep playing.
Exactly. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do is tell honest stories. When we share our successes, we should include the luck factor. I worked hard, and I also got lucky here and here. That gives young people a more realistic map of how the world works.
That's so important, because when we only tell the sanitized, hard work only version of success, we set people up for disappointment. They follow the formula and don't get the result, and they think they failed. But maybe they just didn't get lucky yet.
Or they got unlucky temporarily, and that's a much less damaging message to internalize. Keep going, adjust your approach, and wait for the conditions to shift. That's healthier than you failed because you're not talented or dedicated enough.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about the right city being part of your luck. Location really does matter, doesn't it? Where you are physically shapes what opportunities are available to you.
Massively. And this is one of those invisible advantages that people don't think about. If you grow up in a major city with a thriving industry, you have more exposure, more networking opportunities, more internships. If you're in a rural area with limited options, the odds are stacked against you from the start.
And yet, we rarely hear people say, I was lucky to be born in London, or I was lucky to grow up near Silicon Valley. They say, I worked hard and made it. But being in the right location is a form of luck. It's the luck of geography.
The luck of geography. That's another one I'm adding to my vocabulary. And I think the digital age was supposed to level this playing field. Remote work, online learning, it should make location matter less, and it has helped to some degree. But connections and opportunities are still unevenly distributed.
So what do we do about that? If we accept that luck is real and unevenly distributed, what's the responsible response, as individuals and as a society?
That's the million-dollar question. Individually, I think the answer is what we've been saying. Increase your surface area, stay resilient, be generous. Socially, I think we need systems that catch people who fall through the cracks. Safety nets, accessible education, mentorship programs. We can't make luck equal, but we can make its consequences less devastating.
So the goal isn't to eliminate luck. That's impossible. The goal is to build a world where a few bad rolls of the dice don't destroy someone's future, and where a few good rolls don't give someone an unearned monopoly on opportunity.
Beautifully said. And I'd add one more thing. We should celebrate hard work and acknowledge luck. Not either or, both. Because the most honest success story includes both the effort and the fortunate circumstances that made that effort pay off.
I want to bring in a personal example here. I once applied for a job that I was incredibly qualified for. I had the experience, the skills, the passion, and I didn't get it. Someone less experienced got it, and I was crushed. I thought I had done something wrong.
Oh, I've been there. That feeling is terrible. What happened?
Months later, I found out that the person who got the job had a personal connection to the hiring manager. They knew each other from a previous company. It wasn't about merit. It was about connection. And knowing that actually made me feel better in a strange way, because it meant I wasn't rejected for my abilities.
That's such an important reframe. It wasn't about you being inadequate. It was about a different variable entirely. And that's liberating if you can hold on to that perspective. The job wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of circumstance.
Exactly. And the flip side is also true. I've gotten opportunities where I'm sure someone more qualified was passed over. And I have to be honest about that too. I didn't earn those opportunities completely on merit. I was in the right place, or I knew the right person, or my personality clicked with the interviewer.
That takes real self-awareness to admit. Most people would never say that out loud. But you're right. We've all benefited from luck in ways we didn't earn. And owning that is a sign of character, not weakness.
Thank you. I think it's important because it keeps me humble and it keeps me grateful. When I catch myself feeling too proud of my achievements, I remind myself, you worked hard, yes, but you also got lucky. Don't forget that.
And that gratitude, that's actually another way to attract more luck, if you believe in that sort of thing. When you're grateful, you're more open, more positive, more likely to notice opportunities. It's a virtuous cycle.
So let me ask you a final question before we start wrapping up. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who feels unlucky, someone who's been working hard but nothing seems to click, what would you say?
I would say, don't confuse delayed luck with no luck. Sometimes the break just hasn't arrived yet. Keep showing up, keep improving, and while you wait, help someone else. Because sometimes the fastest way to change your luck is to become someone else's good fortune, and that act of generosity often circles back in unexpected ways.
That's really beautiful, and I think it's the perfect note to start moving toward a close on. Before we go, I want to quickly revisit one thing. The idea that luck and success aren't opposites, they're partners. And accepting that partnership makes us more honest, more humble, and more human.
Well said. And I'd add, it also makes us more forgiving of ourselves when we fail and of others when they succeed, because we understand that the story is never as simple as it looks from the outside.
So here's my final thought. The next time you achieve something, big or small, take a moment to recognize the luck that helped you get there, the people who supported you, the timing that worked in your favor, the opportunities you didn't create but simply received.
And the next time you fail, remember that bad luck isn't a life sentence. Conditions change, windows open, and if you're still in the game, you're still in the running. The story isn't over until you stop writing it.
I love that. The story isn't over until you stop writing it. That's going to stick with me. All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the narrative fallacy to survivorship bias, from Stoic philosophy to Richard Wiseman's research, from privilege to practical advice.
We really did cover everything, didn't we? And I think the main takeaway is simple but powerful. Work hard, stay open, be generous, and never forget that luck is part of the equation. Not to diminish your effort, but to give you permission to be human.
And with that, I think we've come full circle. Thanks for being here, for being honest, and for making this conversation feel less like a lecture and more like two friends figuring things out together.
Anytime. Honestly, I needed this conversation as much as anyone. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget that a lot of life is just showing up and seeing what happens. And I think that's okay.
That's more than okay. That's the truth. So here's to showing up, working hard, and hoping the dice roll our way every now and then. And when they do, paying it forward.
Cheers to that. Until next time.
Take care, everyone. Keep going, keep growing. And don't forget, luck loves action. So get out there and give it something to work with.
Couldn't have said it better myself. See you next time.